Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The program is about to begin.
Hello, and welcome back.
Right, yeah.
Hello, Spice Heads. Get pumped, get amped, because we're getting ready for the State of IT report. How's everyone doing?
We're feeling good, right?
But I think we can do better than that. Can you do better than that? All right, I'll allow it. I know it's been
Once the expo opens, they're going to be even more juiced.
so juiced.
Yeah,
Because that's
so
also
juiced.
when the shindig
Yeah.
officially starts. But before we get juiced, we're going to get amped because we've got a very exciting presentation coming up.
do.
You heard from our speaker earlier today. Just a little tidbit, a little sneak peek. What were you calling him?
He's a fiddling fiend. He plays the fiddle. For legit, he plays the fiddle.
Okay, yeah.
And he's a
Or violin.
break-dancing bohemian. Like if we had flattened cardboard, he can spin on his head. That's no joke. He won't do it because he's humble, but
Yeah.
he can do that. And of course, he's a data dynamo.
Yeah. I mean, this is his 7th or 8th State of IT
There's
report.
a lot he can do, though, right?
There is a lot he can do. And he's so much more than that. He's also a published author. I don't know. Did you know
He
that?
is Austin, Texas, a photographic
A portrait.
a
portrait
portrait.
of
Yes,
a portrait.
He is do that.
Photographic portrait.
Yep.
And then elevator
He
repair.
can repair elevators.
Or the one in his home.
Yeah.
Maybe just
And I don't know if
one.
it's true, but Chris Hill told me that he can run data reports on all the TPS reports you have. That's what Chris told me. He said, Peter, how are those TPS reports going?
Wow.
Yeah, he did.
Do you, really,
I don't
do
know
you
if
write
that's
your
true or
own
not.
material?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
he did it.
Well, okay, so without further ado, because as I understand it, this is a big, chonkin report. You're going to love it. We're going to bring Peter Tsai up for the State of IT.
When things are big that should be small, who can tell what magic spells we'll be doing for us?
Hello, and welcome back. Thank you for coming. Today, as I mentioned in the opening keynote, we are going to share a lot of data, and we are definitely going to do a speed run because this report is chock full of interesting insights for you. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about the report and what you're about to get into. This is our 13th annual State of IT report. We've been conducting it since 2011, and it is a survey of 800 IT pros. We surveyed them a few months ago, asking them about their future plans for 2025. So what's going to happen in the next year? The study is powered by Aberdeen Strategy and Research, our research wing of our company. And you can view all of these charts online now if you go to spiceworks.com/research/IT-report. You can also Google it, Spiceworks State of IT. All right, so today I mentioned we're going to go through a lot of data very quickly, but I'm going to try to make the most of our time sharing insights that are relevant to you, no matter who you are. We're going to answer the who, what, where, why, and how of the state of IT, covering IT spending and budgets, emerging tech, and IT careers. And we got a lot of feedback from you. You want to hear all about those three categories, but AI is one of the big topics of the moment. And we polled the community to see what you want to know about AI. Miles O'Neill says, are you seeing any real value in an AI product yet? And if so, which one and for what? And we've developed a new metric that looks at technologies and sees if they're worth it or not. Some dude, too, is worried about the implications on IT careers. So he's saying, AI is giving users the ability to do many things themselves. So is it going to impact me in the future if AI becomes more prevalent? And I like this one. Our Votelander says, is AI, is it worth a buck or the door to doomsday? And isn't that what's on the back of our minds? Oh, someone clapped for that. Thanks. Appreciate that. All right, who's this study for? I promise it's for everybody. I hope you guys like the IT crowd. State of IT is for you, whether you're an IT pro in the trenches, tired of telling people to turn it off and on again, whether you're an IT manager who is leading your team to success, or maybe you're a business executive who might not be hands-on with technology, but you're making big decisions that affect the IT team and your company's relationship with IT. Or you're a tech vendor who is providing the products and services we all depend on, like access to the internet. All right, who am I? I introduced myself a little earlier today, but a little bit more about me. What do I know about the state of IT? I've been with Spiceworks for 12 years. And I just mentioned a lot of different types of IT professionals. And I like to think that I can empathize with all of you. I've had a long and illustrious career in IT over the last 25 years. I've been called many things to my face, some of them more positive than others, but in terms of my career, I've been called the Swiss Army knife, a wearer of many hats. I have worked in technical roles in IT support. I've been in software development, QA, server engineering, and I've even made the jump to the dark side. Yes, I worked in tech marketing for years. Before coming to Spiceworks, where I use data to create reports such as this, and along the way I've managed teams, projects, and yes, budgets, which is what we're talking about today. Like many of you, I consider myself a jack of all trades, but perhaps a master of none, and I'm not afraid to admit that yes, I am in fact a big nerd. All right, enough about me. Let's tell us about yourselves. I'm no Chelsea, I'm no Jeff, but I would like you to please make some noise because this data is relevant to different audiences, and how you feel about certain subjects might depend on what kind of company you work for, maybe how long you've been in IT, what industry you're in. So, really quick, I'd like to ask a question. And, of course, since it's Spice World, there are fun prizes if you make lots of noise. So, real quick, who here in the room has direct reports, is a people manager? Make some noise. All right. Well, we'll see how the other one goes. I know you really want one. All right. Okay. Who here is an IT individual contributor, staff member working in the trenches every day? People doing the real work. Okay. All right, I'll remember that. Okay. Is anyone here with their boss? Make some noise. Is anyone sitting next to their boss? Okay. All right, here you go. This is more of it's for him. It's for this gentleman here. This is a sympathy gift because you might not like some of the things I have to say. All right. How long you've been in IT has a lot to do with some of the responses in this report as well. So I'm looking for the elders of the internet, those who are more experienced, perhaps have been in IT longer than I have. So if you were born before 1980, can you please make some noise? All right. How about the youth of the world, those who are up and coming, hungry, working on your career, born after 1980? All right, it's about equal, okay? We'll have some interesting data. All right, we'll see how these next two go to see where Spiceworks goes. All right, how about if you're working in an enterprise with more than 1,000 employees? Oh, okay, all right, no. All right. How about in the smallest of the small, less than 100 employees? Yeah, all right, and then in the middle? All right, so that's good. We're gonna have lots of interesting data for you. Finally, last but not least, let's look at industries that we're working in. We don't have a lot of time for all of these, but if you are in IT services, providing IT services to many companies, maybe an MSP. All right, and the last one. We are very close to the Texas state capitol, the seat of government in this state. If you're working in federal, state, municipal government, or maybe public education or public health care, anybody here? Wow, lots of you. All right, I think I heard this lady over here. All right, oh, okay, short throw, thank you. That is also a sympathy gift. I appreciate everything you do. I really didn't mean it earlier when I said you enrich many people's lives, but I apologize for the terrible things I'm about to say about your budgets. All right, moving on. Okay, this morning I emphasized there's a lot of challenges and opportunities. There's a lot of ways to interpret the data. But where there's challenges, there's opportunities. Where there's opportunities, there's also challenges. So we mentioned those challenges. Let's put some numbers to it. 46% of businesses are concerned about increases in product costs. That's inflation. We're all feeling it, and businesses are too. Many are concerned about IT labor shortages or IT skills gaps. Many are concerned with wages not keeping up with the cost of living. And many teams, 29%, are concerned about having to do more with less. And this is why I had you all vote. Who you are matters. IT staff are twice as likely to say they're concerned about wages keeping up with the cost of living. They're also twice as likely to say they're being asked to do more with less, and they expect to experience this within the next year. So there is somewhat of a disconnect between senior managers, middle managers, and staff members. So we can see kind of where some of the pressures are coming from. And maybe this is an opportunity to open a dialogue, to talk about ways that we can all be a little bit happier in the face of these challenges. Also, if you work in a small business, you're more likely to be concerned about increases in product costs. Large enterprises tend to be a little bit more well-resourced compared to the smaller ones, so the pain of inflation stings a little bit more for the smaller guys. Maybe you already knew that. Okay, so what are people doing in the face of these challenges? I know there's a lot of data here. You can take photos. You can go online, Google Spiceworks State of IT report. But many companies are doing things to cut costs. And it's not all bad. Sometimes they are spending more to save more in the long run. Sometimes they're taking care of low-hanging fruit, decommissioning infrastructure, looking for solutions that actually improve efficiency, shifting CapEx to OpEx, consolidating technologies. But in other cases, they are actually cutting into some things that really matter. So they might be putting projects on hold. They might be outsourcing tasks. They might be delaying technology purchases. There's a lot of things that they're doing, and unfortunately, sometimes it results in reducing the workforce. But this is just a snapshot of what everybody's doing. We'll talk a little bit more about what individuals are doing a little later. We'll return to, for example, reevaluating vendors, slowing hiring, et cetera, et cetera. But just know that on average, companies are doing 4 of these cost-cutting measures on average. Some are doing more, some are doing less, but even if they're increasing their budgets, everybody's still trying to operate more efficiently. That's what the main point of this slide. I'll return to this key opportunity slide that I shared this morning. Budgets are going up. 2/3 of companies are increasing their budgets. Total spending is expected to go up by 9%. 50% of companies are increasing spending on, again, security and AI, which is going to be a big theme of this report. And while 57% of leaders say it's difficult to hire IT talent, IT departments are growing. So companies are 7 times as likely to increase the size of their staff as decrease. And we'll revisit these in all 3 sections. As you can see, there's spending, there's tech adoption, and there's IT careers. Starting with spending, it's going to be a speed run again, but I'll try to give you additional nuance beyond the key highlights. We've already covered that 64% of companies are increasing their spending. The new information on the slide is that only 4% of companies are planning to decrease their IT budgets. So companies are 13 times as likely to increase their spending as decrease. I mentioned that, 9% increase year over year plans among companies. Last year, they plan to increase their budgets collectively by only 6%. So spending is actually increasing. 9% is a relatively healthy figure compared to previous years. Why are companies spending? Well, for a variety of reasons. Security has bubbled up to the top of this list this year. We ask this question every year. Typically, it's maybe in 3rd or 4th position. This year, security concerns are the top reason to increase spending. Increased priority on IT projects, number 2, which is very important because it's indicative of the strategic nature of some of these investments. There's always the need to update outdated infrastructure. You see end-of-service devices, end-of-service operating systems. Windows 10 is going out of service at the end of 2025, so that could be contributing to this. Employee growth. I'm going to share some employee growth figures going forward, but the US government estimates 4% growth over the next 10 years, so that's going to be a continuing factor if those predictions pan out. And inflation. 45% of organizations increasing their budgets say inflation is one of the reasons why. And inflation, as you might guess, has been rising in this chart year over year. Just a few years ago, in 2022, only 22% of organizations said they are raising budgets because of inflation, so it's more than doubled. Okay, this is a new question that we asked this year. We know how much budgets are increasing, we know how many companies are increasing budgets, but is it enough? That's the big question. And at first glance, it looks like, yes, 80% of companies say we're investing more than enough or enough. But again, I polled the audience, and who you are matters. In fact, if you are an individual contributor, you are more likely than not to say that we have less than enough budget to accomplish our technology needs. Only 2% say that they have more than enough. So you're 27 times as likely to say you have less than enough than more than enough. If you're a manager or director, it's flipped. You're more likely to say we have more than enough than to say we have less than enough. Again, an opportunity to open a dialogue and talk about why this is so, and maybe empathize with the other sides, kind of try to come to agreement. All right. What industry you're working in, and I apologize to those who work in education, but what industry you're working in matters as well. Looking at all industries, I mentioned the 9% overall spending change, so 9% growth. Median, we also track as well. A typical change in a company is a 5% increase. But if you're working in financial services, construction, and IT services, you're doing better than the standard across all industries. If you're in software, you're doing quite well as well. But manufacturing, retail, wholesale, and the public sector especially, you're not seeing, you might, but on average, the spending changes are going to be a little bit lower. You're seeing less growth, 2%, 3%, or maybe even 0%, no change. Public sector, the median change is no change at all. All right, now where's all this money going to go? We track this year over year. It doesn't change too much. The important takeaway here is the bulk of spending is going towards hardware, software, and cloud. No big surprise. IT labor is also a big spending area. Managed services, facilities, power, telecom, internal services, we track it all. I realize these categories are incredibly broad, so in the state of IT, we break down the top 3 spending categories in each area. So for hardware, it's laptops, desktops, and servers. Software, OS, security, databases, cloud, backup and restore, infrastructure as a service, and web hosting. For IT labor, you're paying more for senior and mid-level employees than entry level. Managed service, you got managed security, networking, and hosting, and on and on. One thing you should pay note to is that security appears on this list a few times, right? Because it can be delivered as a hardware appliance, software solution, or as a service. So we've also cut the data in that way. Infrastructure, similarly, it can be delivered on-prem or as a cloud service as well. So we broke down key spending areas in that manner as well. Infrastructure is 9% of total spending. Security solutions, 6%. Backup and restore. If you went to my colleague Derek Brink's session, you know those are closely linked. So security solutions and backup together account for 11% of spend. And then across tech categories, they're incredibly broad as well. So spending on internal employees versus external, it's 10% of overall budgets, which is not a small number. And for hardware, just looking at client devices alone, it's 9% of overall spend. All right. But that doesn't answer everything either. If you're a tech vendor out there, you want to know where is spending increasing and where is it decreasing? Or if you're a business leader, you want to know where other businesses are spending and where they're pulling back on spending. So the hot technologies of the minute. Generative AI software is the category most likely to see increased spending, followed by security solutions and laptops. Remember, there was a quick rush to purchase laptops at the beginning of the pandemic, early 2020. Now those machines are all 4 or 5 years old. A lot of companies are going to have to replace them, so that makes a lot of sense. The opposite end of the spectrum, you can see technology areas where companies might be looking to save money. So, for example, for telephone charges, for printers, for web hosting, we see almost as many companies decreasing spending as increasing. And in that chart I showed previously, we looked at all the ways companies are looking to save costs, looking for alternative goods, looking for cheaper services, or investigating alternative vendors, which is very important if you're a tech vendor, right? So this one's kind of eye-opening. We thought this was pretty surprising. Across their entire tech stack, respondents to the State of IT survey said that they are open to switching vendors for nearly 6 out of 10 technologies they use today. So 59% of the technologies they use today, they're open to switching to a different vendor. They're actively looking for new vendors for 15% of their technology products, and they're open to switching for 44%. All right, so now that we've gone through spending, we'll go to the second category, tech adoption. It's one thing to spend in areas, but sometimes you're adopting individual products that are not necessarily in those buckets that are in the spending areas. And we asked 2 questions about all the technologies we track, dozens of them. Do you use it right now, or do you plan to use it in the future? And if you have used it in the past, or you use it today, was it worth it? And I think that's what a lot of IT pros want to know. And we added this metric this year because this is really core at what you're trying to get at. Should I invest in something or not? I want to know if someone else thinks it's worth it before I spend money on it. And we came up with a score where we looked at the percentage of IT professionals that said, yes, it's worth investing in, and we subtracted the percentage of those who said, no, it's not worth it. So for example, if 50% said it's worth it, and 50% said it's not worth it, you would get a score of 0. Okay, but first we look at the adoption figures. We can see a lot of these emerging technologies, these buzzworthy technologies. We can see who's actually using what. So 5G, open source, automation technology, more than 50% of companies said they're using it. Internet of Things, gigabit Wi-Fi, AI, also quite popular. But I think the most insightful way to look at this data is to look at last year's numbers and compare it to this year's numbers. Which technologies are seeing the biggest jumps over time? And it might not be too surprising that AI comes in at the top of the list. Last year we asked if companies are using AI, 25% said they're using it, compared to 40% this year. That's a 1.6 times jump year over year. Edge computing seeing a similar jump. 1.5 times as many people are using edge computing as they were last year. And even for the more niche technologies, virtual reality, blockchain, those have seen a 1.4 times and 1.6 times jump, respectively. Another important metric to look at is plans to use these technologies in the future. So what are your peers planning to do in the future? For example, gigabit Wi-Fi, an additional 25% of companies plan to start using that within the next 2 years, which tells us it's probably going to be quite popular the next time we run this survey. We expect these numbers to grow. All right, now getting it to the new metric we're tracking, is a technology worth investing in? So I said if 50% said it's worth it, 50% said it's not, you got a score of 0. These scores are significantly higher, which indicates that organizations are finding a lot of value in the emerging technologies they've adopted. Even the least worth it technology, quote unquote, virtual reality technology, it's kind of a niche product. Respondents were 6 times as likely to say this technology is worth investing in as not investing in. So the companies that have taken the leap are finding a lot of value in the products, and we see that somewhat across the board. Okay, diving deeper, I know AI is a big focus of our report, so I want to reveal some additional findings that we have there. So the 68% score we gave it, 74%, which was surprising to me, said it was worth it, given the controversial nature of AI. So 74% said it was worth it, only 6% said it's not worth it, and 20% had no opinion. But there's a caveat. So if you ask IT pros if AI is worth it, they're like, yeah, we're on board with AI. We think it's going to be worthwhile. But then when you get into the specifics, things get a little bit hazier. So if you ask, is using ChatGPT for information retrieval worth it? It becomes a little bit more controversial. Only 56% say it's worth it, and 14% say it's not worth it, so that's a 43% score. And the least popular use case, and I don't like them either when I have to interact with them, but using AI to power internal-facing chatbots. Only 51% said it's worth it, 19% said it's not. 31%, about roughly a third, said they had no opinion for both of these use cases, which to me says the jury's is still out. People are still forming opinions. AI is evolving quickly. So these numbers could change now, but right now, IT professionals are mixed. Technology as a whole seems very promising, but as for using it today, everyone's a little bit less sure. That said, if you're looking to prioritize which use cases you want to investigate, we've stack ranked all of the different types of use cases. So using AI for information retrieval and decision through something like ChatGPT is at the top of the list, followed by automation, detecting security intrusions and fraud, writing code, analytics, internal documentation, referencing data, machine learning, and again, chatbots is at the bottom of the list. Again, returning to different audiences. If you're in a large company, you're more likely to think AI is going to be worth it. If you are a director or manager, you're more likely to believe AI is worth it compared to staff, which might speak to some of the efficiency gains that AI promises. And on the staff side, maybe you're hands-on with it and you're more skeptical. And there could be an element of perhaps being afraid of AI replacing some of the tasks that could be done by humans today. Additionally, the younger you are, the more likely you are to say AI is worth investing in, perhaps because you think you're going to be working with the technology for longer. Versus if you're a little bit older and you might be retiring soon, you might not think you need to deal with it. Okay, I have to give all credit for this slide to my colleague Derek Brink. He just did a session on getting the IT budget for cybersecurity that you deserve. But this is very similar to the emerging technology slides I just shared. We did the same worth it score, and we did the same, we charted out the same metrics for those currently using it and those planning to use it. So I'll just paraphrase what Derek said. Very similar conclusions. So organizations project continued expansion of use of cybersecurity solutions over the next 2 years. And importantly, respondents report an extremely high perception of value of the time and resources invested. Cybersecurity solutions seeing increased adoption and growth are the ones that truly deliver business value in terms of risk reduction, operational efficiencies, and strategic enablement. So that line is extremely important because that is the business value that these technologies are delivering. And if you are on IT staff and you're trying to convince the boss to invest in technology, these are the things you need to demonstrate in order to get permission for that investment. Derek has gone further, and he has categorized many of these advanced cybersecurity technologies into high-level areas so you can compare and see which similar technologies you might want to investigate to benchmark your adoption of these technologies against your peers. So across endpoint security, across SecOps, across identity, access data security, and application security, which I thought was a very interesting area. This area concerns looking for threats in software throughout the supply chain, verifying APIs, and verifying code. We see a lot of interest in certain industries, which I'll show on the next slide. But other interesting things to call out, multi-factor authentication has entered the mainstream. About 2/3 of companies are using it today. Also, looking towards the future, Zero Trust Network Access, ZTNA, is the technology we expect adoption to grow the fastest for looking forward. As I mentioned, certain industries are adopting security technologies at a faster rate. So this slide shows current usage of various technologies. In the software industry, they're much more likely to use Zero Trust, Secure Access Service Edge, Identity Governance, and Software Bill of Materials. So those are access, identity, and app security solutions. And in IT services, they're much more likely to adopt all of the application security solutions that we charted in the previous slide. So Software Bill of Materials, software composition analysis, and API security. If you recall, in recent years, there have been a lot of attacks on MSPs where they target the MSP through a supply chain attack. in order to access all of the customers that they are serving. So they hack the MSP, and then they are therefore able to also hack their clients. So it makes a lot of sense why they're investing in these technologies. Other industries of note, retail and finance, are 1.3 and 1.4 more times likely to use passwordless authentication, which verifies people are who they say they are. And this can definitely cut down on fraud. So it makes sense that these industries are investing in these technologies. Last but not least, we have the state of IT jobs in 2025, and I think this will be of particular interest to a lot of you. We do a lot of our own research, but we do cite third parties, and I'm not sure if you're aware, the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics is a very good data source to learn about not just IT jobs, but jobs across the board. And one of the things that they do that's very useful is project how many jobs are going to be out there across almost every job imaginable. In the next 10 years, the national average for growth across all occupations is expected to be 4% growth. Employment in the computer and math fields are projected to grow at 13%. And you can see some roles are expected, employment in certain roles is expected to grow very quickly. For example, information and security analysts, 33%. That's 8 times faster than average. Software developers and IT managers, also expected to grow much faster than average. You can see many roles within IT, network architects, QA testers, database architects, web developers, database administrators, and on, network support specialists, all growing faster than average. Computer user support specialists, about at the average rate. And then, this is curious, there's some roles that are expected to actually contract in the number of roles out there. So systems administrators and computer programmers. And if you read between the lines, you can see that there are analogous roles. Systems administrators are here, computer programmers are here, but software developers are here, and so are computer network architects. The BLS seems to think that those roles with more of a design component, higher level roles versus those that are kind of implementing the technologies, those higher level design roles are going to be a little bit more in demand according to the BLS. Their data, not mine. Also, they're quick to note that despite these figures showing that the number of total jobs is going to contract, there's still going to be a lot of openings because a lot of older IT professionals might be retiring, and businesses are still going to be looking for people to replace them. Okay, we also track which businesses are expecting to increase the size of their IT departments. I shared earlier that businesses are 7 times as likely to increase their headcount than decrease, and that figure has been growing over time. So 2 years ago, only 32% of companies said they're increasing the size of their IT headcount. It's 43 today, which is good news. But where you work matters, and if you're looking for a job, where are they most likely to be hiring? The larger a company is, the more likely it is to be hiring, and then those industries that are increasing their increasing their IT budgets, they're also more likely to be hiring. In software and IT services and financial services, they're growing their IT departments faster than other industries, such as education. Who's looking for a job is really interesting as well. So overall, 36% of IT professionals said they plan to seek a new job in 2025. The younger you are, the more likely you are to be looking for a job. The top 2 reasons, according to numerous studies, to look for a new job is to seek a higher salary or seek opportunities for career growth. Younger employees are probably looking for a little bit more money, and if they're in a position where they don't see that path for growth, they're likely to look around. If you're a hiring manager and you have a younger employee who you want to retain, it's very important to know. You got to treat them right. You got to nurture their talents in order to keep them working at your company. Boomers, only 15% of them plan to seek a new job. A lot of them are retiring. But if someone's working in IT for quite a while, they probably have developed their skills somewhat as well. This could be contributing to the skills shortage. So a lot of younger workers are looking for jobs. A lot of older ones, not so much. Okay, we just have a few more slides, but this one's super important. We're talking about IT career skills. We asked IT professionals, which skills are important? And after they told us that, we said, are you confident in these skills personally? So you're seeing the top skills that are important to a career in IT. Core technical knowledge, problem solving, cybersecurity, communication, team collaboration. So you have hard skills and soft skills. But then you look at those important skills and you say, are you confident in them? Confident in them? Only 63% of IT professionals are confident in their cybersecurity knowledge right now. So that reveals a skills gap. We saw similar gaps across conflict resolution, data analysis, scripting, and coding. There's also a gap in AI, but it's not deemed super important just yet, but that could change in the future. All right. Again, looking at differences in opinion by age, the younger you are, the more important you think scripting or coding skills are. You also think public speaking and presentation skills, what I'm doing now, is more important. And the biggest difference in opinion is in AI. So Gen Z and millennials, they're twice as likely as members of the boomer generation to believe that you need to know how to prompt in order to get ahead in your career. Okay, looking at certifications, we also asked IT professionals to rank the types of certifications they think are most valuable. No surprise, security is at the top of the list. Cloud's there, networking, databases, AI, development, and coding. Those are the top 6. Operating systems, virtualization, and general support have value. And this was surprising to me because we ran a very similar study 10 years ago. And these OS's virtualization and support were at the top of the list now. But maybe they're more table stakes now. And if you want to differentiate yourself, you see the new skills that IT professionals have told us they think are important today. Okay, one more slide before we get to our key takeaways. Let's say you got your certifications, you went back to school, you learn valuable things to close the skills gap. You're now valued in the marketplace. Where can you go if you have these IT security skills or your AI skills? Here again, large companies are more likely to hire for these specialized roles. In enterprises, they're 3 times more likely to hire for IT security roles specifically, and they're 5 times as likely to hire for AI-focused roles compared to those small businesses. Okay. Now at the end, I've thrown a lot of data at you, and I know it's a lot to keep track of. I've been staring at this data for 3 months, and it's hard to keep track of for me. So importantly, I have some key takeaways for the various groups that I polled the audience about earlier, for IT staff, IT managers, and for tech vendors. For business leaders, I think these are the key stats that you can walk away with. Most businesses plan to increase their IT budgets year over year. So if you wanted to benchmark your plans against your peers, if you're not increasing your budgets, you are outside of the norm. So businesses are seeing the value of investing in technology. Top reasons to spend, to increase spending, are security concerns, aging infrastructure, and new IT projects. Also, in addition to security, AI is the area most likely to see an increase in spending in the next 12 months. Additionally, most IT pros, not just IT staff, but also directors and managers, believe that investing in technology is worth it, and they view it as a way to solve some common IT challenges. So if you are not investing in technology, other people are, and it's probably a best practice that you would follow. Additionally, on the hiring front, companies are 7 times as likely to increase the size of their IT staff. Again, IT staff members feel increasingly spread thin, so if you're not hiring IT staff, many others are, and maybe you should look into it. However, there's a disconnect between how the IT pros, who are staff members, feel versus how IT management feels amid skills gaps. So hiring managers are saying it's hard to find people, and IT staff are saying we're under tremendous pressure to do more with less. So that's a conversation that we should open up. And I think on all 3 of the takeaways, I think different groups should empathize with the demands being placed on others, to kind of find a common ground. For IT professionals, it's mostly career-related. So if you're an IT pro in the trenches, fighting fires constantly, the outlook for IT jobs is promising, both in the short and long term, but there's a caveat, opportunities and challenges, right? Demand for some roles is expected to decline, and the way to combat that is to always keep learning and level up your skills, the theme of this conference. The jobs posed for the most growth include IT security analyst, IT manager, and software developer. So depending on which path you want to go down, there are many things that you can do to learn and acquire those skills that are required for that role. The skills gaps that exist today are in cybersecurity, data analysis, coding, and conflict resolution. Certifications can help close these gaps. And again, if you're an IT professional, a lot of you are saying you don't have enough budget. So you should learn about the pressures that your boss is facing, learn what matters to them. They're looking for that return on investment. They're looking for risk avoidance or enabling additional efficiency. So if you can learn to speak that language, perhaps you can help bridge some of that gap. So again, empathize with the other side and see things from their point of view and adapt your asks to meet some of their needs. Finally, we have takeaways for tech vendors. Again, the outlook is pretty positive, 9% increase in budgets year over year, and adoption for many different kinds of technologies, from emerging tech to security tech. We're seeing strong expected growth. But however, at the same time budgets are increasing, companies are also trying to save money at the same time. They're trying to find efficiencies where they can cut back, and importantly for tech vendors, they're open to changing vendors for 59% of the technologies they use. So don't count on them to renew that contract. They're looking around, and you need to do things to continue to add value to them so that they continue to stay with you. But where there are challenges, there are opportunities. If you can prove that you are delivering real value in a really genuine way, you can win business away from those companies that are not. And again, this is really important. You need to empathize with IT pros' challenges. AI is a big buzzword today. I think many IT pros are of the opinion that, yes, a lot of companies are just shoehorning the buzzword AI into every product and service and expecting them to be impressed with it. Our data shows that, yes, companies are hopeful about the future of AI, but they are skeptical about the actual value it's delivering today. So instead of just using the buzzwords, you have to demonstrate how AI is actually going to help in a meaningful way if you expect these features to drive future business for you. And yes, empathy, it's across all three of these recommendations. Just understand where the others are coming from. We're all kind of one big family in IT, and hopefully the data and the state of IT can benefit everyone in this room. And please check out the full report at spiceworks.com/research/IT report. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. And let's bring Jeff and Chelsea back to the stage.
All right. Peter, that was amazing. Let's give another big round of applause to Peter Tsai and the 2025
Wait,
State
Peter, is
of
it true?
IT report. Oh, what are we doing? Are we breakdancing?
Is it true that 60% of the time it works every time?
Sure.
All right.
Heard it here first.
So thanks, Peter. That was awesome. Great stuff, as always. I love the state. I was taking pictures and sending them to my
So you're the reason
nephew.
Peter's like, you could
Yeah,
just
I was sending
go
pictures like, hey, did you know this? Hey, did
go
you
to the
know this?
actual report?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So
we are.
it's time.
It is time. We are not here to take up any more of your time because the Welcome Shindig, sponsored by Vertiv, is about to kick off in the
Zlotnick Ballroom, that's on M1, and it's getting ready to start right now, and that is sponsored by Vertiv.
That's right, it
That's
is.
right.
It sure is. Who's excited to party? Okay, wait, I do have one question though. Look, live data poll over here, or survey poll.
Whatever
Words.
you-
Those are things. Data, got it. Is this your first party of Spice World? Make some noise. Okay, but how many of you showed up yesterday? So were you partying yesterday too? Okay, all right, just checking. All right, well then enjoy your first party at Spice World, the first of many. Those Spice Buddies definitely know where the after parties are, so find them with their flashing buttons, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for our first keynote with Tara Wheeler, but we'll also see you down the Shindig in just a few minutes.
That's right.
Bye, guys.
Sip, snacks,
And swag.
All right. See you in a bit.
Bye.
I was thinking